Tawassul. Tawassul linguistically means to seek a means. To seek a means. To seek a means, a way. Allah said in His book, وَابْتَغُوا إِلَيْهِ الْوَسِيلَةِ. Seek the means to Him. This means seek everything that grants you a higher status to Allah. And by that, Allah will make the results of those means manifest for you. And Allah has the power to make them manifest without those means. Seek the means. Seek everything that gives you a higher status to Allah. And then by those means, Allah will manifest what you want. And Allah still has the power to make them come true without those means. This verse is not restricted, and therefore it is not valid for a Wahhabi to restrict it to particular conditions that he believes in, as will be made clear. It means, the verse means, to take advantage of the means. And Allah will manifest for you the results you seek. Technically, tawassul is to seek from Allah the occurrence of a benefit or the repulsion of harm by mentioning the name of a prophet or a wali out of honor of the one by whom the tawassul is made. An example is what Al-Bayhaqi narrates in Dala'il An-Nubuwah. لما اقترف آدم الخطيئة قال يا رب أسألك بحق محمد لما غفرت لي. When Adam committed the sin, he said, "Oh my Lord, I ask you by the status of Muhammad to forgive me." As is clear, this is part of the religion and far from deviance, blasphemy, or shirk. It's a part of the religion. Adam did it. It's part of the religion. It's not something specific to the nation of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And Muhammad was not alive when Adam was alive, so Adam made tawassul by one who's not alive. If we want to play with words, so Wahhabi will say, well, he wasn't dead. Okay, he wasn't alive. How's that? He didn't live so that he would die. Okay, but he wasn't alive. So where's your condition to saying you can't make tawassul unless the one you're making tawassul by is alive? Our answer to the Wahhabi who asks, why make tawassul? Cannot Allah grant you what you seek without that? Our answer is yes. Allah can grant you what you seek without tawassul, but He made tawassul an optional resort. There is nothing wrong with it, and in fact it is beneficial and helpful. Allah made the matters of life based on reasons and consequences, although He has the power to grant us reward without us doing any deeds. Yes, what's your question? You said if a Wahhabi says the hadith is weak, we just ask for evidence for his claim? Even supposing the hadith is weak, let's suppose it is. Who said it's kufr? Who said it's haram? Where did he get this conviction from? He said he's a Salafi, he followed a Salaf. Where he got that from? That's what I would say to him. Because to the Wahhabi, this is kufr. They make takfir on the Muslims. So, even if it's weak, but nevertheless it exists and it's known. So who commented on it and said it's kufr or even haram? Or who said this hadith is weak and therefore cannot be applied? It's not permissible to apply this. It's not permissible to do this. Who said so? An-Nasafi said in his tafsir, تقديم الوسيلة قبل طلب الحاجة أقرب إلى الإجابة. Advancing the good deeds and offerings before seeking the need makes it more likely for one to be answered. Advancing the good deeds and offerings before seeking the need makes it more likely for one to be answered. Allah made the tawassul by the prophets and walis during their lives and after their deaths a means for the manifestation of what we seek. We ask Allah by them, hoping that we would get what we asked for. We say, "Oh Allah, we certainly ask you by the status or honor of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to fulfill our need or to relieve us of our calamity." We also say, "Oh Allah, we ask you by the status of Abdul Qadir al-Jailani," for example, and the like. It is not a condition to say by the status of. One can say, "I ask you by Muhammad," as will be seen. This is permissible and has only been made forbidden by the Wahhabiyyah. Thus they have deviated from Ahlus Sunnah. There is no real evidence that tawassul by the prophets and the walis is forbidden, whether that was done in their absence or after their deaths. There's no evidence. So when a Wahhabi says, "But you made tawassul by someone who's not present," we say to them, "So what? It's not permissible in our religion to make stuff up." Or if he says, "You made tawassul by them after their deaths," we say to them, "So what? It's not permissible for you to fabricate stuff in the religion." The Wahhabiyyah have claimed that this is shirk unless some conditions are fulfilled, that it is done in their presence during their lives. They got that from Ibn Taymiyah. So that's the Wahhabi condition for tawassul, that the one you're making tawassul by is alive and present. But the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Kullu shartin laysa fi kitabillah fahuwa batilun wa in kana mi'ata sharta." Every condition that is not in the book of Allah is invalid, even if it were 100 conditions. The condition of being alive and present is a fabrication. It's a daydream, as we will prove by first referring to the Hadith of the blind man, Hadith al-A'ma. This hadith perfectly discredits the claims of the Wahhabiyyah on every level, that making tawassul or calling upon someone is only permissible if that one were alive and present, or else it is shirk. That's the claim of the Wahhabi. The Wahhabi claims that tawassul can only be done by someone who is alive and present. And he took that condition from Ibn Taymiyah. Ibn Taymiyah fabricated that condition. According to them, if either one of those two is missing, then it's shirk. So if the one you're making tawassul by is dead or absent, then according to them, it's shirk. The Hadith of the blind man perfectly discredits their fabrication on every level. One, within the Hadith of the blind man is evidence that calling on someone is not worship, because the blind man was personally ordered by the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to call upon the Prophet, who would never order someone to worship him. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to him, "Itil mida'ata fatawadda wa salli rak'atayn thumma qul Allahumma inni as'aluka wa atawajjahu ilayka bi nabiyyina Muhammad nabiyyir rahmah ya Muhammad inni atawajjahu bika ila rabbi fi hajati lituqda li." Which means, go to the place of wudu, make wudu, pray 2 rak'ahs, then say, "O Allah, I surely ask you and I direct myself to you by our Prophet Muhammad, the Prophet of mercy. O Muhammad," here, "O Muhammad, Ya Muhammad, I direct myself by you to my Lord in my time of need," or in my need, "so that my need would be fulfilled." لِتُقْضَى لِي, so that it will be fulfilled for me. 2. There is also proof that calling upon someone in his absence is permissible, because the blind man obeying the Prophet ﷺ went away from the Prophet ﷺ when he called upon him, as proven by the saying of Ibn Hunayf, the companion who narrated the hadith. قال فوالله ما تفرقنا ولا طال بنا المجلس حتى دخل علينا الرجل كأنه لم يكن به ضر قط. He said, I swear by Allah, we had not dispersed, nor had the session been long, when the man came to us sightful as if he had never been blind. This means that he went away from the Prophet ﷺ as the Prophet ﷺ ordered him, said the supplication that contains calling on the Prophet ﷺ, and then came back. There is also proof that calling upon someone after his death is not worship, because the companions continued to teach this supplication after the Prophet's death, ﷺ, as Uthman ibn Hunayf did. Also, the hadith scholars continued to narrate this supplication without forbidding the people from applying it after the death of the Prophet ﷺ. Ibn Taymiyah was the first to prohibit making tawassul by the Prophet, as mentioned by Taqiyuddin as-Subki in his book Shifa'us Saqam, the cure for the sick. He said, know that it is permissible and good to make tawassul, to seek help, isti'ana, and to seek intercession, tashaffu', by the Prophet ﷺ to one's Lord, the glorified and exalted. The permissibility and goodness of that is known by every religious person. It is known by the doings of the prophets and messengers and the biographies of the righteous Salaf, and no one has denied that from any religion, and the denial of it was never heard of at any time in history until Ibn Taymiyah came and spoke about it with speech by which he fooled those who are weak and inexperienced. He innovated what was not preceded before him at any time in history. As Ibn Taymiyah contradicting himself is nothing strange. In his book Al-Kalim al-Tayyib, his quote is عن الهيثم ابن حنش أنه قال كنا عند عبد الله بن عمر رضي الله عنهما فخدرت رجله فقال له رجل اذكر أحب الناس إليك فقال يا محمد فكأنما نشط من عقال. From Al-Haytham ibn Hanash, that he said, we were with Abdullah ibn Umar, may Allah accept his and his father's deeds, when his when his leg was inflicted with the khadar. A man said to him, mention the most beloved of people to you. And so he said, Ya Muhammad, and it was as if he was untied from a knot. So is Ibn Taymiyyah a mushrik or not, a Wahhabi? Rather, the Wahhabi will make every excuse for Ibn Taymiyyah for what he has done here and accuse anyone else who does the exact same thing of shirk. 1. If the Wahhabi says this hadith is weak, we tell him that is beside the point. Ibn Taymiyyah considered it a good practice, weak or not, and even if it were weak, weak narrations can still be used for doing good deeds. 2. If he says that what is meant in the hadith is that Ibn Umar wanted to conjure up the remembrance of the Prophet in his heart, because that's what they say sometimes. They say he wasn't actually calling on the Prophet, he was conjuring up the remembrance of the Prophet in his heart. So if he says that what is meant in the hadith is that Ibn Umar wanted to conjure up the remembrance of the Prophet in his heart, not to call on the Prophet, we tell him that it says Ya Muhammad, which is calling. Which grammarian said saying yeah so-and-so is not calling if the one saying it only wanted to conjure up the remembrance of someone in his heart? And are you actually a sane person who accepts this excuse? And how come it was only Ibn Umar who wanted to conjure up the Prophet in his heart, and anyone else who says the exact same words after the Prophet's death is a mushrik according to you, except Ibn Taymiyah? If the Wahhabi says, number 3, he was told to mention the most beloved person to him, so when he said, "Ya Muhammad," he was only mentioning the Prophet, not calling on him. The answer is that he said, "Ya Muhammad." The fact that a person told him to mention the most beloved to him is beside the point. He called the Prophet after his death. He said after the Prophet's death, "Ya Muhammad." They play all of these word games. Those Wahhabis play all of these word games because they believe in Ibn Taymiyyah more than they believe in the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They did not play these word games for the sake of Ibn Umar. They did not play these word games to save Ibn Umar. It was for the sake of Ibn Taymiyyah, to save Ibn Taymiyyah from being refuted or exposed. Therefore, for the Wahhabis to say that Ibn Taymiyyah did not approve of calling on the dead, as they would call it, or seeking help from the dead, is a lie. Ibn Taymiyyah approved of it in his book called Al-Kalimul Tayyib, which means the good words, a book which they perverted to remove this hadith. So they republished the hadith with, they republished the book with this hadith missing, out of the wickedness of their hearts and the dishonesty of their hearts. La'natullahi alayhim wa qabbaha wujuhahum. Among the evidence of Tawassul by the Prophet and others, using them as a means for the supplication to be answered, whether during their lives or after their deaths, is what was narrated by Hafiz Abu Bakr al-Bayhaqi, with his chain of narration mentioned in the Arabic text. There's the Arabic text for whoever can benefit from it. From the route of Malik Ad-Daar, that the people were inflicted with a drought at the time of Umar ibn al-Khattab. And so a man came to the grave of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and said, "O Messenger of Allah, seek the rain for your nation, for certainly they are perishing." Then the Messenger of Allah came to him in the dream and said, "Go to Umar and pass the salam to him from me, and inform him that they will be irrigated, and say to him, endeavor, endeavor." And so the man came and informed Umar. And so Umar said, "Oh my Lord, I do not fall short except in what I am unable to do." Hafiz ibn Kathir, who was trustworthy to them, narrated this and said immediately afterwards, وَهَذَا إِسْنَادٌ صَحِيحٌ. This is an authentic chain of narration. The confirmation of that person who went to the grave being the companion Bilal ibn al-Harith is found in another version of the story, also narrated by Ibn Kathir. فَأَخْبَرَهُمْ بِقَوْلِ الْمُزَنِي وَهُوَ بِلَالُ بْنُ الْحَارِثِ فَفَطِنُوا وَلَمْ يَفْطَنْ فَقَالُوا إِنَّمَا اسْتَبْطَأَكَ فِي الْإِسْتِسْقَاءِ فَاسْتَسْقِ بِنَا. And so Umar informed them about what Al-Muzani said. He told the people about what Al-Muzani said. And he is Bilal ibn al-Harith. Yani, Al-Muzani, he saw the dream, so he came to Umar. He told him, "I saw the Messenger of Allah in my dream. He passes you his salam, and he said to you, endeavor, endeavor." And Umar said, "Oh my Lord, I only fall short in what I'm unable to do." Meaning he didn't understand. What am I missing? And then Umar informed the people of what Al-Muzani said to him. And he is Bilal ibn al-Harith. And they understood, and he did not understand. They explained to him, "He's only considering that you have been slow in performing the prayer for seeking rain. So lead us in the prayer of seeking the rain, Ya Umar." So how do the Wahhabis play with this narration? One, if the Wahhabi lies and claims that the hadith is weak, it's going to probably be his first, his default lie. You know, open the Wahhabi handbook. Step 1, claim that the hadith is weak. So if the Wahhabi lies and claims that the hadith is weak, we have produced Ibn Kathir's authentication of the hadith, and he is reliable to them. 2, if he says there's no evidence in dreams, and say, the man saw a dream, there's no proof in the dream, we tell him that is beside the point. The evidence is not in the dream, it's in the doing of the companion, while no one objected to him. No one's saying the dream is the evidence. We say, look what the companion did. He went to the Prophet's grave and he sought help from the Prophet from his grave. Then he went and he told Umar, the one who was so strict against the haram, and Umar didn't say anything, and nobody said anything. That's the evidence, not the dream. 3, if they say, the Wahhabi says, their silence to his deed was the proof that they objected to it, we tell them, well, you claim to follow the Salaf, so stop talking. Do like them and be silent. Did you understand that? Yani, we say to the Wahhabi, how come nobody said that that's haram? According to you, that's a big, blatant, obvious kufr. That's a big shirk. Obvious shirk, yani. It's not even like ambiguous. According to you, what Bilal ibn al-Harith did is a big, obvious shirk. So how come nobody said anything? So what they might say, and they said this, the fact that they didn't say anything to him was their objection. They say, you know how, for example, if you do something bad and then someone turns away from you and doesn't say anything to you? It's like that. So then we say to them, okay, then shut up. Yeah, I heard them say that, number 3. That's how I knew about it. And it worked so nice. It was like a perfect setup, subhanAllah. I was debating with this Wahhabi lady. And she said, the fact that they didn't say anything was their objection to it. I said, okay, stop talking. So she stopped talking. And she refuted herself. He said, do they truly believe thousands of scholars objected but didn't say anything? Yeah. Oh, I don't know if they really believe that, but anyway, they believe that really most of the nation are Yeah, they do believe that the Sahaba are mushriks. Some of them said, and I saw that with my own eyes, some of them said, what that companion did opened a door of shirk on the nation. So they know better about the Aqidah than the Sahaba, according to them. We also tell them that objecting to the deed is by speaking up, not being silent. The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, من رأى منكم منكرا فليغيره بيده فإن لم يستطع فبلسانه فإن لم يستطع فبقلبه. Any one of you who saw something forbidden, then let him change it by his hand. If unable, then by his tongue. If unable, then with his heart. So they really believe that Umar ibn al-Khattab was silent about this. Umar ibn al-Khattab, of all people. So let's stop here. So did I watch the debate with Dimashqiyya and Sheikh Salim? Yes, I did, mashaAllah. You saw how he lied. How he was lying. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi. Let's stop here. The next section says the truth about those who are absent or dead.